people live their life in a journey. So I had all those questions and I had no answers. When I started working on my mindset, it changed my life. One of my favorite metaphors is the mountains of life. Knowing something and having it in the muscle is not the same thing.
Mickey, a warm welcome to you. And before we begin, I'm going to read your official bio. And so this official bio is specifically for people who are going to directly listen to this video. If they have browsing YouTube and they happen to see this video, so they will, they will hear this first. And then we'll move into the question and answers that people generally ask about mindset and some of the self-awareness questions about generally some of the misconceptions that people generally have around mindsets and the generalizations that come with the terminologies as well as we go along. So I'm going to read your bio as is from your website. So here we go. So Mickey is the CEO of MindsetMaps International and is based in New York City and guides successful entrepreneurs and business leaders worldwide, empowering them to unlock their full potential. Mickey's co-invention, the Success Mindset Maps Inventory, offers a transformative path through uncertain terrains to reach peak aspirations. Mickey is the co-founder of Mindset Maps International with Robert Dilts, a global institute dedicated to mindset mastery and research. He holds the Mindset Shift podcast and regularly publishes on Psychology Today and Forbes. He is the co-author of the book, The Power of Mindset Change, and the book Generative Consulting Tools for Creativity, Consciousness, and Collective Transformation. So that's the official bio I'm reading. And
Very official.
very official. Yes, the unofficial bio would be Mickey is my teacher and mentor. I have been fortunate to learn from Mickey, and he's been very helpful in guiding me through the mindset journey in terms of the faculty that I have been onboarded in India and the GCC region in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. And that's been a wonderful journey, I will say. And so, as part of that journey, I do get a lot of questions from people in terms of some of the things that people are not so aware about mindset, and then some of the terminologies. And one of them, and I'll not say one of them, two of them are the uh, growth set mindset and fixed mindset. And generally, people are asking, and here is the question. So, can you explain what a growth mindset is and how it differs from a fixed mindset before we move into the mindset uh, maps?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, pleasure to be here. Good to be with you and great to have this conversation. And yeah, so starting with a definition, mindset is some sort of a map of the reality, right? We use this expression in NLP that there is only a map, right? Like that's all we have of the territory, and it's not the same, but it also means that that map is very, very important. And basically, your mindset is kind of the filter, your inner attitude, your set of beliefs that really filters reality for you, the way you perceive it, the way you remember it, the way you prefer things. And Carol Dweck, who is a famous psychologist, has introduced this idea that there seem to be two main types of mindsets. One is the growth mindset, one is the fixed mindset. And the growth mindset, as it sounds like, it's something that helps, it's a filter that helps you to take in feedback. It helps you to stay open. It helps you to challenge yourself. Whereas the fixed mindset is one that limits you and makes you very cautious and makes you, shy away from feedback. And so her distinction is everybody should have a growth mindset. Every company should have a growth mindset. And we wholeheartedly agree, we being myself and Robert, and based on our research, successful entrepreneurs, yes, seem to have a growth mindset. But what we found is that mindset is a little more complicated. It's not that binary. It's not like I have this or I have that. This is right. This is wrong. It's more like you need a generative mindset. You need a mindset that's kind of open. But then there are different types of goals that you might set in your life. And each of those goals, outcomes, may require a slightly different mindset. So our idea was it's not just growth mindset and fixed mindset, but there are multiple different types of growth mindset. And you need to become a master of your own mindset so that you can not just live your life in one mindset. This is the Mickey Feher mindset and the Vikram mindset. We have to have the ability to generate more mindsets and set goals and align our mindsets with those goals.
I think you've already started to go into the answer to the next question, and that's what are some of the
Yeah.
common misconceptions people have about mindset and personal growth, and what's the connection, and what should people be aware about when they think about mindset?
Yeah. So, yeah, there are many misconceptions. And, one misconception is that people kind of mix personality and mindset, and they think, well, my mindset is me. I was born like this. That's kind of my personality. I don't like social situations. I don't like networking. I don't like selling. So even though, in my role as maybe an entrepreneur or a business person, that's very important, that's not for me. And what we have discovered is while personality is something that certainly influences your general temperament and general being in life. For example, there certainly is something about how do you get energy? Is it coming from the inside? You kind of self motivate yourself, or do you get your energy from other people? Yes, there are these tendencies, but mindset is the way you think, you filter. Mindset is, as we say, it's something that you set as a
Mhm.
result of some kind of learning, as a result of a set of experiences. So you're in charge of your mind. You could set your mind, but most people, interestingly, are not very much in charge of their mind. They are in, you know, kind of as a hostage of their mindset. So there is something like liberating and revolutionary about the idea that, okay, no, you are in charge. Don't mix personality and mindset. You were not born like this. You can change that. So that's kind of probably the biggest misconception. Should I say one more or?
Yeah, we have one more.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe that'll be helpful.
So the second one is very interesting. I think it's just more, it's not a misconception, it's the obscurity, it's unclarity. So what is mindset? It's very, I mean, we do talk about it a lot. We all agree it's so important, but it's something very, very obscure. It's something that's invisible. We cannot really put our fingers on it. So how do we work with it? And our basic notion and result of the research we were doing with people was that actually it's not that obscure. There are certain patterns that are very common, and they go back to deep psychologic roots, to Carl Jung, who basically first established that there is the unconscious, the individual unconscious, the collective unconscious, and there are these stories and archetypes that we hold. And so we found that there is almost like an archetypal structure of our mindset. There's kind of a story which seems to be global. You could go to India, you could go to Dubai, you could go to Tokyo, you could go to New York, you could go to Paris, but it's very common. People live their life in a journey, especially empowered, successful, purpose-driven people. They live their life as in a journey, and they kind of feel like a captain of their ship. So we notice that mindset is actually a journey metaphor, and it has certain common elements where, people resonate with that all around the world. So that's how you can actually start mapping or visualizing somebody's mindset.
Thank you for sharing this answer. And this also reminds me that, a few years back, even I had maybe some of those misconceptions about, mindset and uh, what it is. And it sounded more of a binary thing that, this is either you have it or you don't have it. And
Right.
thankfully, when I attended the course with you and Robert, that was such a enlightening experience and enriching experience. And I'm still learning as part of the process as well of the mindset coach program that I started. So I'll ask the next question related to that, which is out of my own curiosity, and maybe some of the other coaches would benefit from the research that you and Robert did, and what went into this, the mindset to create the mindset coach program. So that, let me put it this way. So, as a coach, you've been working with a lot of people across Europe and US and other continents as well. So, how did you become interested in mindset coaching? And what inspired you to create a mindset coach program with Robert?
Right. Well, the personal part of it is that I was working as a business leader in a company, kind of very successful, age 37, being a kind of a chief sales officer for a telecom company, managing a large team. I had 2 kids. I had a happy relationship, and I was beginning to experience some interesting symptoms of burnout. So even though everything went well, everything checked out, everything looked great on the surface, I was kind of suffering from, like lack of motivation, a little bit of a sense of emptiness. Where is this all going? Is that all that is for me? So now I'm going to be the CEO in 2 years. It's great, but do I really enjoy this? Do I really find, am I really satisfied? Am I actually making a meaningful contribution in the world? Do I feel like I generate meaning? Do I feel, is that all? So could I do something bigger? So I had all those questions and I had no answers. And at that point, I started to kind of attend courses and learn NLP. I was already a psychologist, but I was working in business. And I started attending NLP courses, and it really made me start working on myself. And then when I connected with Robert in my own learning process, we found that we have a very kind of similar interest in this idea of the mindset, because I realized that my burnout is kind of a mindset thing. Like I'm lacking a longer term vision. I'm pretty unclear on what is my unique contribution that I want to bring into my work. So I perform on a high level, but this is not going to be very sustainable. I will need to make some changes. And so, I made some personal changes, figuring out some of the bigger questions which relate to mindset. So I changed my mindset. And then as I was learning coaching, I realized that, by the way, coaches are missing a tool. Like they don't have a tool to work with mindset. And if we could create a tool that could help their work, it would be great for them because they could make a difference for their clients. Plus, it would be something that would differentiate them, because another personality profile is not going to differentiate a coach, because there are, hundreds of companies offering personality profiles. So I really thought that it was crucial in my life. When I started working on my mindset, it changed my life. I changed my career. I became much more fulfilled. I changed the country where I lived, and I became much more global, and I felt like, I am really on the right path now. So that's kind of the root of what made us say, okay, we have to create a tool, but before we create a tool, we have to do some research and interview and understand and model some very successful purpose-driven leaders who made a difference and who also created successful businesses, and then bring all that knowledge into this tool so that we can give it to coaches who can then use it with their clients and enjoy the benefits themselves. Because like I enjoy the benefit first on myself, I think the same happens with the participants. It's like it helps you to align, and sometimes it's a bigger alignment, sometimes it's a smaller alignment, and then you can bring it to your clients and you can use it to differentiate yourself.
Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for bringing Robert also into the answer. This just I just remembered meeting Robert for the first time in London in 2018, and that was when I was transitioning from leaving my full-time career
Yeah.
and doing NLP and coaching full-time. And NLP and coaching was my side hustle for 7, 8 years while I was still working in IBM. And I think 2018 was the peak of my burnout. And I was listening to Robert and Ian McDermott from UK, and that just inspired me. Okay, well, I think I had planned that 2020 is when I will quit IBM and do this full time. I think meeting Robert and Ian and attending the inspiration session there in London sort of, fast tracked the movement into this. And then the second burnout, I think I was feeling around 2022, and this was uh, when I
Mm.
was also exploring a few programs to attend for myself. And this is the time I decided I think I'm going to need a shift in myself. I didn't call it mindset back then, but I landed up in a mindset program by having a conversation. One of the European coaches, he said, Vikram, you seem to know a lot of NLP. You seem to know this. You seem to know EI and neuroscience as well. Why don't you give mindset a try? And it's from your one of your favorite teachers, Robert. I said, okay, well, let me just check what it is. And I think I just enrolled after having that conversation. And when we look at real life
Mm-hmm.
examples or success stories, I think you just shared from your own experience that, you are part of that success story where you started doing this itself. And now I'm curious to know what are some of the other real life examples or stories where you have noticed a shift in the clients that you've been working with, and some of the other coaches who are mindset maps coaches, and what has been a significant difference in their life.
Yeah, really good question. And as you were speaking and sharing your own story, I was kind of thinking that one of my favorite metaphors is the mountains of life. So we climb, multiple mountains, but a lot of us first climb one mountain where, it's about becoming successful and maybe making some money. It's not always like that, but it tends to be, that first mindset. And then you're there and you're like, oh, okay, but what's my next mountain? And as soon as you ask that question, you kind of like fall down into a valley. So you're no longer on top of the mountain. You're now in this valley, and it's kind of a little bit darkish. It's kind of like lots of trees around and bushes. I can't see clearly, and I have all these questions, and I'm feeling a little bit of, like a dilemma, a burnout maybe. And so often clients are in that situation, sort of that midlife crisis or mountain crisis. What is my next big mountain? Where do I want to go from here? And one habit which is very useful is go to the mountaintop, go back, go to the, another way to say it, go to the balcony. Because from the balcony, it's up there, you can look down on your life and you can see everything. And suddenly it's more clear. Suddenly you see the big picture rather than, being And I'm doing this because it's also kind of a bodily posture, when we are stuck and when we are kind of more up on that hill or on that balcony. So a lot of the success stories are kind of connected to that, where you have a leader, for example, one client who was a fairly successful, serial entrepreneur, and then he ended up selling his green energy company to a larger business. So he was very successful. He was now part of this bigger business. He had a nice title, but he was really, really kind of wondering, okay, what's next for me? I can't do this forever. I feel like I'm experiencing, the first signs of burnout. It's not always about burnout, but it was in this case. And so by working through his mindset and really going to the balcony, from the balcony, really kind of getting clear on what matters in life for him, he realized that his mission was not to sit in a big company, but to start a business, an entrepreneurial business that makes a difference and makes the world greener. So from there, everything became very clear, like his next steps, what he needs to do. He needs to get out. He needs to start his own business. So these kinds of shifts from uncertainty and burnout to clarity and feeling like I know what I want to do. I know where I'm going, or at least I have a direction. So that really helps to then put together that action plan and those habits that you need to actually really get to that objective. So that's kind of one example.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. This reminded me of the practice groups that we have for the mindset coach certification programs. And those are such useful practice sessions. And in one of the sessions, as part of the uh, process of where, I was getting coached from one of the Mindset Maps coaches, and one of the things which I sort of have, I'll say more like a practical step or a strategy for myself when it comes to I'll use a word, better mindset here, is to manage the, I wouldn't say a burnout on a daily basis, but to manage something from a rest perspective, which happens on a daily basis, so that I don't have to say, I need a vacation after 3 months or I need a vacation after 6 months. And I tell myself, one of the practical strategies is I need a daily vacation for myself. And that's more like a rule I have kept for myself. And that's one of the uh, mindset strategies, I will say, or a mindset shift that I have experienced lately for myself. Uh, so, asking the same question back to you in a different style. So, in your opinion, what's one of your favorite practical steps or strategies uh, that individuals can use to develop a better mindset in their daily lives?
Yeah, and I'm kind of going to link to something that I've been mentioning a few times already, this idea of go to the balcony. So, you could write down in NLP, often people are like, okay, so what are the 5 steps of going to the balcony? And you can write that down and, it can become some sort of an exercise.
Mhm.
And I can do that exercise whenever I need to. I think the mindset shift is somewhat related to what you just mentioned, is to realize that, this is not an exercise that I need to do when I'm lost. I can do this when I'm lost. So I close my eyes, I relax my body, I get into a really good state. I imagine myself going up to the top of the mountain. And as I go, things are getting clearer. And I go up and I still go higher. And now I open my eyes and I look around and what do I see? So I can really describe, like on a behavior level, okay, these are the things that you have to do. But the funny thing is that if you have to have a tool and you have to pull it out when you are already feeling lost, it's a little too late.
Mhm.
So I think
True.
it's great, so it's great to do this when you're lost. And I do recommend to do it when you're lost. But what I would even recommend more is to do it on a regular basis, sort of more as a prevention. So one thing is start your day or end your day every day and go to the balcony to the top of the mountain and sort of take a big picture view of what matters to you, what's important to you, and either what you have accomplished that day or more kind of forward looking, like what is it that you want to accomplish next. So that's a very simple habit, but it then becomes part of your daily DNA rather than having to wait for, I'm going to do this every quarter or every year. Some people say I do it annually, and I'm not saying it's not great. It's great. Do it annually, but what if you did it every day?
Hmm.
What would happen then? What would be possible for you then? I
Hmm.
bet more. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this. While you were talking about the balcony, my just mind drifted towards the balcony
Yeah.
that I have here in the hotel room, with supposedly a view of Burj Khalifa from here. And generally, towards the end of the day, I sit there. I'm just relating to your metaphor that, I just spend 30, 40 minutes every day sitting there and I do nothing there, in the sense that I just take some time to uh, sort of slow down where I am. But since you were mentioning about, keep your eyes closed and then see and take a big picture view from the balcony itself, maybe unknowingly, unconsciously, that's what I seem to be doing
Yeah.
in the balcony, especially when I'm here in Dubai, because the balcony here is very tempting to sit. And so I think
Right.
maybe I need to bring this habit back into my Indian balcony as well, where I have a forest view, and that's gonna be the metaphor I'm gonna take away for myself, and I'm sure people who are gonna listen to this as well, it's gonna be a very useful metaphor for them as well. A lot of coaches in the mindset community are well established coaches, and they seem to be working in different geographies, especially in Europe, in US, Middle East, Asia, Pacific as well. Now, from a organization perspective, uh, how can organizations foster a healthy mindset culture among their employees, and what benefits might they see as a result of onboarding a mindset coach?
Yeah. Very, very, very good question. And maybe we continue. I don't want to make it sound like, mindset maps or this approach is only about this idea that you have to go to the balcony. But I think it's, in our work, we call it the meta mindset because it takes you out to a larger meta perspective. And I think it's a crucial element. And if we take, what we were saying to an organizational level now, companies don't spend enough time going to the balcony and looking at the big picture and assessing and clarifying what journey they are on and where they are going and why they are doing what they are doing. And so the mindset maps approach, so if a coach learns this and takes it to a company, I think one of the ways it's really remarkable is that it creates the right conversation early on. So as an individual coach, I could use the mindset maps to onboard my client and really create a very clear gap analysis at the beginning as to what's missing and how to help this client the best. When I work with an organization, kind of the same thing happens. As part of my, I like to call it diagnosis or setup, which is very important before starting, or before recommending steps for the client, or you have to do this, you have to get that training, or you have to get that workshop. We have to establish the big picture view of what is happening, what is the current state, what is the desired state. And so if we have, let's say, the leadership team of the company take the mindset maps, we'll suddenly have a very clear view about what they think is important, where they think the company is going. Is it clear or is it not clear? Do they feel like they can play to their strength in this team? Is their role, fairly clear? Do they have the habits to keep themselves healthy and strong and motivated? So it's kind of a health and diagnostic check at the beginning, which then really helps this very well-established coach to show the client, why we are going to do what we are going to do and how it's going to help to get to a desired state. So that's what jumps to mind
Yeah,
based on
thank
your
you.
question.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. While you were mentioning, I was already imagining making some CEOs sit in the balconies of their mindset, doing a big picture view. Uh, so this also, I'll just ask a very focused question from the terminologies that we have in the mindset maps, and uh, so from a application perspective, what could be a quick application? You mentioned already the balcony one, which is the meta mindset, and I'm going to bring the other two as well. What could be a simple takeaway from a macro mindset perspective and a micro mindset perspective for someone uh, who may be utilizing this in their personal life or their professional life from a healthy mindset perspective?
Right. So, the macro mindset is what is related to longevity. So keeping up, let's say I now know my focus, but what everybody wants to hear is, if I know my focus, I can sit, close my eyes, get into this wonderful inner state, and I'm just going to manifest it. So if you go on the internet, it's full of manifestation trainings. Come to this training and manifest your success. And it sounds amazing, but I think one of the interesting things that we found in our work with Robert, and what I found in my life, is it's unfortunately not that way. You can enjoy the journey, but it is a journey and it's going to take effort and it's not going to be easy.
Yes.
Now, and people don't like to hear that. They're like, okay, so if I'm just going to sit down, close my eyes and manifest my success, and 2 months later, I sell my company for $1 million and then I'm done. But, it doesn't really happen that way. And so I think for a macro mindset is that, there are certain habits that keep you going, that will help you to keep going. And for example, one habit could be related to feedback. And in order to really get the best out of feedback, I have to become a seeker. So that's kind of the mindset shift, that if I feel like I'm a seeker, I seek feedback, I seek the opportunity to get high quality feedback from really trusted resources and friends and mentors, then my eyes are now open and I'm ready to receive. But if my mindset is, in a place where I am not a seeker, I'm a devotee, and I'm I have this one source that I believe in, and everything is devoted to that. I don't want to hear anything else. That's interesting, because what is that going to cause? It's going to cause some blind spots. So I think what we do is we help people as they go through this work to establish, what are some of these key macro mindset identities that can really help you to keep going. Have you already established them, and what can you do in your life to find at least 3, 4 people that are reliable source of feedback to you, and then go back to them regularly.
Nice,
That would be an
nice. Thank you.
example.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this. I would like to pick up the word feedback here from a perspective of uh, maybe setbacks. We spoke about healthy mindset in terms of benefits from the mindset. We spoke about overcoming challenges generally in life using how the mindset shift happens. Uh, Now, if somebody is experiencing a setback in life, it can be both personal or professional at workplace or out of workplace as well. Uh, how can someone benefit from using mindset maps or having access to a mindset coach or self-coach using this mindset?
Yeah. So here is an example. Let's say I'm in a certain position, and I'm leading a team, or I'm leading my own business, and things are really not happening the way I would like them to be. Maybe I don't have enough clients, and maybe even the clients I have, I'm experiencing some challenges and difficulties with. So one thing that's really useful in a moment like that is to look into the mirror. Most of the mindset methodologies that you will find out in the world, they will be based on one quality of the mindset. So they're going to say, oh, you have to have the beginner's mindset, Vikram. Put on the beginner's mindset. This is what it is. If you have that, you'll succeed. Or you're going to go and this other guy is going to say, no, 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 it's all about radical candor. So you have to become of the mindset of radical candor. It's going to change your life. Or you have to have grit and it's going to change your. And those are all really good things, but they are just one component. So what is different in our approach is that although we say that part of your big picture meta mindset should be the clarity on what you're good at. So I could, maybe this person that is experiencing the difficulties, maybe they know that they're really good at coaching when they're with the client already. So what happens is they get very clear on that, and that's what they're spending most of their time. But guess what? You also need to generate leads. You also need to meet with clients. You also need to have a steady supply of clients, and it's not happening because you're trying to spend most of your time coaching, which is what you're good at and what you enjoy. So in mindset maps, in our approach, we say, okay, it's great that that's your mission. You create these amazing conversations, but what do you have to do on a daily basis in your business, in your position, that are going to make you successful? And that's where the micro mindsets come in, which are basically, again, little mindset identities. So some people, I am a team maker and that's who I am and that's all I do. Or I am a market maker and that's who I am and that's all I do. So we encourage people to look in the mirror and look at the 9 micro mindsets we understand from our research are crucial to make any job, any company, any venture successful. And then figure out what are the things that you are maybe ignoring and what are the opportunities. What do you need to shift in your mindset so that you can engage in those things or hire people that help you to do it or partner with people that help you to do it. So we take people through this self-awareness, clarity, and then, okay, so what's next?
Yeah, thank you for sharing. This brings me towards a very focused question, which is for the NLP community that I have. There are 6,000 plus members there, and they mostly comprise of NLP practitioners, NLP master practitioners, and some of them are already NLP trainers, and some would be moving into that. Some have a coaching pathway, so they are NLP coaches. Some of them are EI based coaches. Some of them are uh, behavioral coaches, neuroscience based coaches. Uh, what would be a mindset for someone
Mhm.
who's just starting out as a coach?
Right.
What
Yeah,
would be that
so
game changer for them?
yeah, that's a good question, and I want to sort of think about it together with you. My immediate idea is that it's not just what you want to achieve. So what is your final kind of big picture outcome? So maybe, okay, the first question is, why do you want to become a coach? You know, like what's important to you about that? And then a lot of people will say, you know, I want to help other people.
Mm, mm.
Okay, but how did you come to this realization that you want to help other people? And then they will say, well, it's because nobody helped me, or because somebody did help me when I was lost and it was so beneficial. So I want to do this for other people.
Mm,
And then the question is, okay, but like, what kind of people do you want to do this for?
mm,
Oh, I want to do this for everybody. But then, okay, but that's really interesting. But like, everybody, really? Like, how do you like, what's the personal story? And then, you know, as you go through the personal story, you're going to find that maybe it's other leaders like me, like people who were in sales, or people who were, you know, are also teachers like me, or people who are like nurses like me who work in a hospital. So suddenly you start honing in on more clarity. So the mindset maps process for somebody who is starting to become a coach is to really, you know, first of all, realize how many points you're still missing from your mindset to be aligned and ready to go, and then really get clear and fill those gaps and establish the clarity of your own mindset that will help you to succeed. Because I think the lack of clarity and too much of a big picture, or sometimes too much of a small picture, is one of the biggest problems that a beginner can face.
right, right. Thank you for sharing this. And I'm sure people will find this very useful, especially coaches who are just entering into coaching industry, which is booming from last 6 years post-COVID now. One final question, and this is uh, a question from you from a perspective of being the co-founder of Mindset Maps. Uh, how do you manage your own mindset on a daily basis, and how does it help in terms of the vision that you want to have for this in let's say 30 years from now?
Yeah. So a 1 minute tragicomic story. My father was a therapist, and he kept telling me as I grew up that, you know, people experience a middle life crisis around the age of 45 or 50. They tend to get divorced. They make these decisions which sometimes don't work out. And so I kept hearing it, and I was pretty sure he knows that. That's why he's telling me that. And then he reached the age of 45 and he got divorced. and, and you know, it was both kind of funny and also sort of sad, because I realized that, you know, knowing something and having it in the muscle is not the same thing. He knew it, but he didn't really have the muscle. So what would have been different if he had it in the muscle? I believe that he would have had certain practices um, where he would have worked on this relationship much more consciously, aligned. He would have aligned with my mother in terms of their longer term vision, and, you know, how do they both play to their strengths? They were also working together, and then all of that collapsed. So, you know, the lack of metacognition and treating metacognition as knowledge and an exercise kills, you know, the results. So you never get to the results that way. You can know all this, you can have the exercise, the toolbox, the tool in your under your belt, but you have to live it. So for me, living it every day and practicing it every day is probably the most important thing. But then it's not only that, is running, my mindset in, so as a practice. So it's not a state, it's not a finite state. It's not that I have already answered all my questions, I already know what I want with mindset maps. Robert and I, we already know. It's a constant re-evaluation and living it on a daily basis, with lots of feedback, lots of re-energizing, lots of persisting, keeping going, and regularly going back to the bigger strategic picture of, why are we doing this? What is our goal here? Okay. So then how do we decide whether we do this or that tomorrow? So it's this kind of interactive process, and really living the mindset change every day.
Thank you for sharing this. This is such a, again, this is one of those questions which brings back, have a direction and then keep on improving, take on feedback and just trust the process and then uh, come in the balcony and continue to be in the balcony. And great. So we're towards the end of our conversation here. So I would like to thank Mickey for spending this time with us. I'm sure people who are going to listen to this will take lots of takeaways in terms of some of the things we spoke about from a perspective of the growth mindset, and then some of the terminologies that generally can uh, are getting used online, and then it creates confusion for people in terms of, is that coaching, is that mindset coaching, is that really coaching, is that going to be beneficial? So thank you for sharing practical steps, strategies, and how to foster change, and how to overcome challenges and setbacks which people can use in their life, and specifically for coaches who are going to consider mindset coach program for themselves, and that was me a few years back, and it made such a huge difference in my own life, in my own business, both in my entrepreneurial ventures that I have in both places. So thank you very much, and it's been an honor to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. It's always amazing to hear, that it actually generates results. And maybe I close with this idea of generative. So now people use generative AI for so many purposes, but guys who are listening, everyone who's listening, don't forget that human intelligence, AI is just as smart as the things that you feed into it. Human intelligence have this amazing creative generative capacity where you can generate more than just the sum of inputs that you're fed. So we have that advantage at the moment, and I do believe that it will always be a very human advantage that makes us more than AI, and that's why AI is an accomplice that can help us. But remember, you're in charge. You can generate your own mindset, and you can generate your own results. So it was lovely to speak about this morning over here with you.
Thank you very much.